Bail Me Out Production Studios in the beautiful state of Arkansas, you're listening to the Shattered Podcast with your host, The Elias.
Today I have Geishla Driver with me through Skype. How are you today, Geishla?
I'm good, Dee. How are you?
I'm doing good, thanks. Let's start by you telling me a little bit about your childhood.
Um, my childhood was good. I grew up in a loving home, in a small community, DeQueen, Arkansas. I have two siblings. One I grew up with, my sister. I have a lot of aunts and uncles and nieces, not nieces, excuse me, cousins that grew up there as well. So we had a big family, a really good family.
How old were you when your mom was first diagnosed with her
I
illness?
was 17. I was 17 years old. And when she got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, the whole world changed. I got introduced to marijuana. I got introduced to methamphetamine. Mom started taking a lot of medications, which were different forms of opiates and fentanyl. Um, in our mind, when we heard multiple sclerosis at that time, we just thought she's dying. She's going to die. We didn't realize that our mother wasn't actually going to end up dying from the disease, but actually was going to end up dying from an overdose, an accidental overdose.
Right, and before then, your mom never even touched a cigarette.
No, she smoked occasionally cigarettes, but she didn't do anything else.
She
She
never
didn't
drank or done
smoke.
anything.
No, 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 no. She was in church every Sunday. She was like the best stay-at-home mom. She ran home health for my grandma. She perfect. Perfect.
Right,
I couldn't have asked for a better mom.
right. And the doctor, for whatever reason, prescribed fentanyl patches along with how many different narcotics?
She was on Valium. She was on oxycodone. She was on hydrocodone. She was on Norcos. She was on methadone
All at the same time.
and 72-hour fentanyl patches. Yes,
And all of that combined, her life just spiraled out of control.
completely out of control. We had no idea who our mother was. We literally went to bed one night, woke up the next day, and our mom had transformed into somebody completely different. All of that medication had just rewired her brain
Right.
process, and just her physical body was there, but our mother was gone.
Which caused your mother and father to divorce.
Yes, a couple of times, and remarry. My dad had always loved her, um, never remarried. He still today is not remarried. He took his vows to her, and that was that.
Right.
So the family went through a lot of tragedy trying to figure out what was happening to our mom, because one day she's the perfect mom, and the next day she was just somebody completely different. We didn't know who she was.
From the time she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis until she died, how many years had she been taking all of those narcotics?
A good 10 to 13, 14 years.
And the doctor
Yeah.
kept her on the same amount of prescriptions throughout all of those years.
Yes, yes. Eventually, Neurontin would be added, gabapentin would be added. So they just kept adding and
Right.
adding things to her for pain. And um, I just, now that I know what I know, I don't believe that there was that much pain. I think that he was just feeding an addiction that he had created.
Absolutely. And which subsequently caused her, well, she accidentally overdosed and died.
Yes, my mother had moved out, and my parents were divorced. She had moved to Stillwater, Oklahoma, and we were at that time in Locksburg, Arkansas. And my dad and I had decided we were going to go get her, and she was going to come back home. 2 days later, I got the phone call that my mother had been found deceased on her kitchen floor for approximately 2 days of an
Oh,
accidental overdose. And so we just didn't get there in time.
right. And from that moment on, I mean, your mom was always your rock in life.
She was my rock. She was my rock. She was my best friend. She was my everything. Everything.
So dealing with her death kind of caused you to spiral out of control as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I had two children, and when I first found out that my in high school at 17 I dibbled and dabbled, you know. Um got my children, was a single parent, dealing with my mother and thinking she was going to die of this disease. And I didn't know how to process all that. And so it kind of got a little bit more. But when my mom died, I spiraled completely out of control. Absolutely out of control. Um, I was alone in my mind. I was going to be alone, even though I had a sister and I had a father. I had my brother, my two children, but I wasn't strong enough to realize I had
Mm,
to pick up and be that big. I knew that they needed me, but I was lost. There was nothing for
right,
me once my mom was gone. Nothing. And so I went into a very heavy drug addiction to I would start with marijuana. I went into methamphetamine. The next thing you know, it was benzos, whatever I could take. So I had become a poly user, meaning that if there was a drug in front of me, I was going to use it.
right,
Anything to escape the loneliness or the pain, the having to deal with those feelings.
right. Um, Tell me about your rock bottom.
I thought my rock bottom was whenever I lost custody to my children due to not being able to deal with the death of my mother. And I guess maybe some of us have a couple of rock bottoms.
Hmm.
It just it all depends, because that one was very hard for me, and I did go out of control because my whole life I just wanted to be a mom and realized I had completely failed my children as well, just the same way as my mother had failed my sister and I. Whether it was consciously or not, it happened.
Right,
Um, I lost custody of my children and thought that I would never be anything of a mother, of a woman, nothing. Child, I could never be adequate to anything. And so the two kids that I had living went to be with some awesome people. And for the grace of God, I see God's hand in that whole thing, because I got to pick where my children went. I did lose custody, but God blessed me with being able to say, my children know these people. They have foundations that I wish I could have planted for my children. Can I please let these people raise my children? And that was granted. So at that time, God was in the picture. I didn't see it. I look back today and I know, but there would be a couple years go by and I would get pregnant again. And I thought, oh, wow, God has blessed me with another opportunity to be a mom. I'm going to do this one right, and I got pregnant with my son. His name is Aiden. And decided that I was going to get back into church. I was going to kick the meth addiction and stop hanging around with all these people. And I did. I did very well. I got an awesome sponsor, Hattie Vance, a wonderful church group, D Queen First Assembly. And they loved me through my addiction and cleaning up. They loved me when I couldn't love myself. Their motto is they want everyone nobody wants.
right,
And at that time, I felt like nobody wanted me, and they just brought me in and they just filled me up with love. And by the time that Aiden was ready to be birthed, he was clean, he was healthy, I was clean, I was healthy, we were sober, and we were ready to work for God. Um, I had Aiden for about a month, and Aiden passed away of SIDS. And when Aiden passed away of SIDS, that was the end. um, I lost it. I lost it hardcore. I was never going to be a mother. I was never going to amount to anything. This was not the life I was meant to live. That's what my brain was telling me.
Right.
That's what the lies, that's what Satan was telling me. You're not good enough to be a family person or a mom or this, that, and the other. It was feeding my head full of lies. And so I went into the drug world hardcore. And I began selling drugs. I began totally disrupting the community that I lived in, and making a really bad legacy for the two children I had that were still alive. And being in my selfish mind, my brain had already been rewired too.
Mm-hmm.
So from so many drugs and things that I had done, that I couldn't see the light.
Right.
And so losing Aiden was a real hard thing, because my brain and my heart had opened up and realized I could be a mom again.
Right.
Later on, I'd realized that Aiden was meant for one thing. He was an angel baby, and he was meant to come into this world to soften my heart back up and to remind me that I had two living children that were going to need me later.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when I lost him, I was really kind of confused. Like what's really happening? And so after that, I went down as deep and dark as I could, messing around in Eagletown and a lot of different counties that I shouldn't have been messing in, dealing in dope.
Right.
And I was gonna be a dope seller for the rest of my life. That's what I was gonna do. I was gonna hustle dope, and I was never gonna be a productive citizen. God had a different plan for me. He said, "Nope, that's not what I made you for." So one day, a lot of people think that when the police bust in on you, that they are just after you and they are out to get you. I myself have the utmost respect for DTF in Sevier County. Greg Davion, especially, is one of them. Bradshaw is another one, because they came in and they took a hold of my life when I couldn't take a hold of my life.
Right.
And they gave me structure and discipline and love that I did not know how to give myself, by stopping my my abusive and chaotic lifestyle, because that's what it was.
Right.
And they put me in jail. When they put me in jail, I went to prison. And when I went to prison, I was like, God was saying, listen, I need to get you out of here and sit you down where I can get you to hear my voice, because all of the chaos in the world is distracting you from your purpose.
Right.
You're not catching your purpose. And I'll never forget sitting in the back of that cop car and getting to Mr. Greg Davion and finally meeting him face to face and just saying thank you. I was so tired, and I
Right.
didn't know what to do. And he obeyed God, and in obeying God, here I am today.
Right. When you left prison, did you go to a halfway house?
I left prison and I came home. And when I came home, I met a man. And I'd been out about 4 months, and he was in the drug game. And one day, Davion drove right past us. And there goes God working through him again, and he said, no, And so some other things had been being investigated about my son, Aiden. And they said, you know what? You're not done. And we need to give you a little more structure. And so I was going to be hit with another charge, and it was going to be a Class Y felony. And that was going to be an introductory to a narcotic to another human being, which I was already an habitual offender, and I was a runner. So that was going to give me 20 to life with no less than 17 calendar years to the door, which was, I wasn't ready for. I still had two children. My dad was still, I was like, what am I going to do? And then yet again, God said, hey, let me put my hand on you and let me show you how much I love you. And this huge man came into DeQueen, whom we've never seen before. And I was working, and he sat down. I was working at a little cafe there, and he sat down and he said, "Miss Driver," and I was like, hmm, I don't know if I should respond to you. And he said, "You don't know me, but I know you, and somebody thinks you're very special. And I'm going to ask you for the permission to advocate upon your honor. And I'm going to help you through what you're going through." Um, he said, "I know the deal that they have for you, but I also know the deal that I want to make for you, and I want to work on your behalf. Will you accept my deal? If you don't, what you're about to go through, you can just tell the rest of your family goodbye, because you'll
Right.
never see them again." And I said, "I don't know what you got for me, but my answer is yes." And so he then introduced himself as Muskie Harris. And for the grace of God, he's another angel that was sent into my life.
Absolutely.
And um, the day that I was to plead guilty on my charges, he had made a way for me to come into a halfway house here in Little Rock, Arkansas, which is Recovery Centers of Arkansas. We have 3 facilitating sister facilities. And I was going to be going to Williamsburg. We have Oasis, we have Williamsburg, and we have Riverbend. I tell you because after all of this, Dee, I now work as a specialist. I work as a treatment specialist for RCA. Um, I did 18 months in Williamsburg on an alternative sentencing program, and I came to court every 3 months in Sevier County. And in this time, God just worked on me, and he worked on me, and he worked my heart. And I realized I still had my brain. I was still functioning.
Right.
And all of that street time was a college prep to help me learn how to help the next lost soul. And God had he had a plan for all that. So while I thought my life was destructive and tearing down for those 25 years of addiction, God was building me up
Right.
and making me what he needed me to be to save someone else, which would
Absolutely.
be all glory for him, which is our purpose in life anyway, is to glorify God.
Right.
And
So you
go ahead.
now work at the treatment center.
I do. I successfully went through the program again, 18 months of it. I never, ever had to. The big thing about the God that I serve is he is so big that whenever God has a plan for you, no judge, no lawyer, no prosecuting attorney, nobody can step in front of what God has planned for you.
Absolutely.
And the day that I was to go in and plead guilty after doing the 18-month program, I was honored with one of the biggest honors that I've ever been blessed with in my life, which was the prosecuting attorney and the judge in Sevier County standing me up and telling me how proud they were that I had successfully went through this program. And they were very proud of me, and that because of that, they were going to allow others to try this program too. And so I had been able to go into my little town, chaotically mess everything up, and come back to them and stand tall and proud and be an advocate for what can happen um, if you do the next right thing.
Right.
Just doing the next right thing and somebody believing in you.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
that means a lot, because that judge actually took my children. He's been through the whole entire thing with me. So for him to go through all of those years with me and see my progress
Right.
holds a lot of high standing for me. And for the prosecuting attorney to believe in me and now,
Absolutely.
be my friend, and Sevier County cops to hug me and tell me they're proud of me. I don't have to run from them
Right.
anymore. I don't have to look the other way. I can be excited to see them. And that's a big gift. A huge gift.
Absolutely. Where are your children today?
My daughter is still with a very loving family that I was able to place her with in Locksburg. I wouldn't give anything in the world for the people that are helping to raise my child. It's actually, I don't know if they'll be mad at me, but I'm so proud of them for stepping up and parenting with me that I can't do anything but give them honor, and that's Becky and Buster Dillinger.
And you are in contact with her.
Yes,
Great.
yes. They now allow me to be in contact with her. They have allowed me to come to their church and to speak. Um, and they're very proud of me for the accomplishments, and I'm very, very, very blessed that they stuck beside me
Right.
and gave my daughter and their daughter, because now she's our daughter,
Right.
the lifestyle that I couldn't give. And they gave her the foundation that I didn't know how to give her.
And how about
No,
your son?
My son lives with me. We had a 7-year separation, all three of us. And now, by the grace of God, my son is now living in my home.
Great.
And that is a miracle in itself.
Yes.
So I get to be a mom again, full time mom.
Right. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
5 years from now, I see myself have completed my CIT, which is a counseling and training for substance abuse. I'm also taking peer support specialist, so I'll have peer support certification for my CIT in substance abuse, and I will be working to help save the next lost soul. That is my goal.
That is awesome. So you will be a substance abuse counselor? Very good.
Yes, I will. Yes,
How long
yes, I will.
before you have completed your courses?
I have one more certificate in my peer support, and I have just some fees to go ahead and file. Um, my boss, my wonderful, wonderful boss. I have amazing bosses here at Recovery Centers of Arkansas. Have already approved me for becoming a CIT. So I just have to pay some dues there, and then I'm in there, and I
Awesome.
start getting to get certified.
So you
So
live
I'm
and work
really
there?
excited. I live and work there. I live, sleep, eat, and breathe RCA. Yes, I
That's
do.
very good.
I do. This is where I belong. This is my home.
How long have you been clean?
May 28th, 2015.
Awesome.
Damn. Been a
So
struggle, but every bit of it's been worth it.
you're going on almost 4 years.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good.
Yeah, April, May. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. I'm a member of Celebrate Recovery. I'm a member of AA, and part-time goer in NA. But it's kind of hard because I work all day with recovering addicts.
Right.
So
You actually have two jobs, right?
I do. I have a daytime job, and I work at Buffalo Wild Wings. And then at nighttime, I work a full-time job with RCA. I work all three facilities, but I work in a wonderful branch of our company, Oasis, which is a renewal system, and it's all definitely a godsend. Every
Very
bit
good.
of it. There's no way I could have done this without God. None.
Absolutely. I love your story, Geishla. It's you've got a very compelling story with a happy ending,
Thank you, Dee.
and
It's
you have a bright future ahead of you, and I'm very proud of that.
yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Is that a wrap?
That's it.